We'd heard concerns from people in both parties before all this about big tech, and there have been hearings on Capitol Hill about big tech. What do you see going forward? What are your takeaways from these releases? And do you expect more hearings, or do you expect perhaps some bipartisan agreement on something?
Well, I expect more hearings for sure, because both sides have called for not only transparency, but more regulation, if you will. Free speech is a tough issue because on one hand, it makes this country outstanding and the best country for us to be in. At the same time, whether it's hate speech or offensive speech that deals or attacks the health, safety, and welfare of others, that's a problem. And so you've got to have a balance. With Donald Trump, his offensive texts, he's got a First Amendment right to do it. But if there was a process to review and a process to eliminate him from Twitter, then if they followed that process, regardless of Democratic pressure or Republican pressure, doesn't really matter, then they went through the process. Look for the hearings to try to explore that. And also look for Elon Musk to continue to weigh in and Donald Trump to continue to weigh in and all elected officials to weigh in on whether we're going to regulate big tech or not.
Scott, do you expect a bipartisan beating? And I'm not condoning violence, but tough questioning
speech, right?
From both parties.
Well, as a white-collar criminal defense lawyer and having prepped witnesses for what he's about to face, let me say this. I'm very surprised he's voluntarily coming forward. He's conceding he doesn't have all the documents, if you will. This may be a political or PR ploy, but it's very dangerous for him because the feds, DOJ, SEC, and others are watching, even though what he's doing isn't covered by the SEC per se. But if there was fraud involved, if you transfer millions of dollars to another company and within 30 days you file for bankruptcy causing multi-million-dollar losses, that on its face screams of fraud, and that'll get an investigation. I wouldn't do this hearing because you have parallel proceedings. You've got investigations not only in the Bahamas, I think, but in the U.S. and from all people who invested in this project, if you will. And so talking under oath before Congress, where it's political, it's not a legal review, is very dangerous because his words will be held against him. And so look for how much he will disclose or not disclose.
Sounds like he ought to give you a call for a little legal consult there.
If he's got money left.
Scott, do Democrats care as long as she votes like a Democrat?
Well, not in the politics of controlling the Senate. It won't make much difference there. But Sinema is very unpopular, even in Arizona. So this is political chess. So she goes to be an independent to give herself a chance because she was not going to win that primary. And then the risk of having an independent run with a Republican and a Democrat, I think the Democrats are willing to take that risk. There's nothing they can do about it now. They're stuck with it. But Sinema was no friend to the Democrats. I mean, on the police brutality bill, on the voting rights legislation where the Democrats were in control and could have pushed that through, those were big losses for the Democrat, primarily not so much with Manchin, but with Manchin. But Sinema was someone where her constituents, right? These aren't conservatives like with Manchin. Her constituents, 80% of them wanted her to vote for that legislation and stop the filibuster, and she refused to do that. That's not forgettable.
She did vote with Democrats 93% of the time, so she is a solid Democrat. Let's not get that confused either.
Now she's a solid independent.
All right. Well, Scott Bolden, Aaron Carini, great discussion.
Yes.
Thank you both.